Unsportsmanlike Content.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are finally back doing another episode here on this wonderful Saturday, March 9th. It is 8:57 p.m. and I'm excited to be back with the boys. Kanan Bielvatz is to my right. Thomas Fornes is down below. Boys, sorry about the game today. How are we doing?
Tommy, you can start us off.
I've been better, Harry. You know, this is it's time to accept that this is the worst team in the Bill Self era. I've come to terms with it.
That's high praise. I mean, they've been wildly successful throughout his tenure, but the worst team, that's surprising.
It's bad. We might be a 4 seed.
You know, I grew up a Mizzou fan that didn't win a conference game all year long. I think I would take a 4 seed. That's just
that's right. You guys are going for the perfect season tonight. Let's actually
the Cleveland Browns of college basketball. Let's see. Right now they are down 49-45, 13-16 left to LSU. And they were actually up 35-29 after at halftime, but have been outscored by 20 so far in the second half. Kanan, what have you been up to besides the loss?
You know, speaking on the loss today, just a pointless game, but it's gonna sting. You know, this was my first year as a KU fan, and the experience a season like this, you know, there have been highs, there have been plenty of lows, but you just gotta look forward to the tournament. Gotta look forward to a bunch of those recruits coming in. Me and Thomas, you and I'd be texting throughout the night, just who's coming in, who can fit. But outside of KU basketball, just not much. You know, my Bucks are getting kind of mid. St. Louis City's losing right now, so that's not good. Even though I'm 20 minutes away from the stadium, I can still hear people upset about that.
We'll get to your Bucks here in a second. I forgot that City had a game tonight. That's probably not good if we're doing a podcast, but we should get back to KU basketball. We're actually going to kick off this episode kind of previewing the Power 5 conference tournaments are getting started here next week. We're getting down to one of the best times of the year with March Madness, and I think we should start off with the Big 12. That's where KU is at right now. Tommy said they're probably going to be a 4 seed. Looking at it right now, Houston's the top dogs. They're 14-3 in the conference. Iowa State second, Baylor third. Says KU and Texas Tech tied for 4th. BYU, TCU, both 9 and 8. So, Tommy, you know Big 12 basketball as well as just about anybody that I know. What are you expecting here come conference tournament time?
Well, KU is actually going to be the 6th seed, which means that we will be playing on Wednesday in Kansas City for first time that I can remember. It's almost, a rite of passage to get that double bye when you're a Jayhawk, and we really crapped the bed this year. So I might be walking into that T-Mobile Arena on Wednesday to watch Kansas take on Oklahoma State or West Virginia, depending on how these games tonight fall. But really, man, like this conference, it's always wide open, especially when you get to that one game single elimination format. I wouldn't rule anybody out in the top 10. I think UCF is a scary team. I mean, me and Kanan both watched Kansas drop a game to them, although that was in their home arena, which is kind of low-key a good environment. People sleep on UCF.
Yeah, they got some crazy energy over there.
Absolutely. Kanan, who'd your sleeper be? If you had to pick a team that's maybe outside the top 5.
Was that towards me? I kind of broke out there for a second.
Yeah.
Outside the top 5, just looking at it, I'm going to say it's going to be – I got to say UCF. I mean, they've been on and off all season, but they just won their last game. Obviously, West Virginia, they're struggling big time, but, they still got to win over us. Just looking out on this standing list, UCF is probably the most not the most, but probably the team that can go the farthest outside of that top 5. You got Houston, Iowa State, Baylor, Texas Tech, and us, Kansas, of course. But BYU, just something about them turns me off. Texas, horns down, and everything else just bottoms out. But UCF just screams trap game. Any team that plays them, really.
I disagree with you on BYU. I think they're a very scary team. The way they play basketball, it's like a video game. I mean, I think they put up like close to 43s every game, and you really only need a fourth of those to go in to really make a difference. Especially when you play a team like Kansas, who we both know can't get anything going from perimeter. It's always a scary sight when you got BYU facing you. I will agree that UCF probably has the most to play for here. I mean, they're on the outside looking in when it comes to the bubble. They've played good competition all year. Of course, they've seen all these teams. I could see them making a deep run. I don't think they have what it takes to actually take it. I'm going to go with BYU.
That's a good pick. It's just like something about them just screams losing first round. And I don't know what it is. I've seen them play a couple times this season, but I'm just not sold on this BYU team. But who knows what can happen come conference time.
Let's not forget they walked into Allen Fieldhouse and left with a W.
I don't remember that. Next question.
Tommy mentioned that the tournament does take place at the T-Mobile Center in downtown Kansas City. I have to imagine you're going to be down there for at least one game, probably as far as KU makes it. What's that environment like for the Big 12 tournament?
Well, I usually try to catch actually like the first couple sessions where tickets are like dirt cheap and you get to watch some competitive Big 12 basketball for pennies on the dollar. So I'll probably see, West Virginia, Oklahoma State. Honestly, the environment is best when Iowa State is playing.
Really?
Those Iowa State. They call it Hilton South, actually. They travel so well. It's that place gets loud when the Cyclones are playing. You just have to see it to believe it.
I think that's one of the best compliments you can give a team is a team that travels that well, like an Iowa State, like you said. I think that speaks volumes to just the support that the team has, whether they're good or whether they're bad. And Iowa State this year is very, very good. So that's always something I enjoy seeing.
There's not much to do in Iowa. So and they don't have any professional sports teams.
That's true. They live and die by their college teams, whether it's Iowa State, whether it's Iowa. Trust me, I've heard some tales about Iowa fandom in the state. That is so. Moving on. Actually, before we finish, are you guys taking Houston to win the tournament, or are you picking a upset? And on top of that, how far do you think KU ends up going? Do they make it to the semis? Do they squeak their way into the finals?
No. KU will beat up on the play first round because obviously that will be the bottom dweller. But it's looking like we're not going to have two of our star players, which can only take you so far. McCullough, I think, tweaked his knee again today.
Yeah.
Self said that he shouldn't have played him. He wished he didn't play him. And then, of course, Hunter separates his shoulder when we're down 23 points in the second half. So both of those guys, I don't think are seeing a minute of playing time in Kansas City, meaning, we might lose in the first round.
I mean, hey, let's have some faith in Parker Braun. Big legacy game coming 30-20. El Marco Jackson about to play like prime Magic Johnson out here. But Kansas basketball, we're not making a deep run in. A team that I think is that I believe is gonna win the Big 12 championship is the Texas Tech Red Raiders. I was watching that Baylor game. They were up 20 on them. Baylor comes storming back. 6 minutes left to play in the second half. And what did the Red Raiders do? They casually go on a 12-0 run, slam the door in their face. They're 22-9 of the year, 3 straight games winning. Pop Isaacs is a really good guard, a little combo guard that can do everything for you. I really like Joe Tusian and Darian Williams. Texas Tech, they're really, really just great at everything. From the top to the bottom of the bench, you get everything. Even if they only play 8 to 10 minutes a game, the bench players, they're still going to produce no matter what. And that atmosphere right before we start recording this, Tommy, you and I talked about it. There's something about that team that just clicks at the right time. The wheels start spinning and the bus doesn't stop going. They're going to be scary. Texas Tech, that's my pick. And I wouldn't be surprised if they make a good run in March as well.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I'm gonna go chalk actually. I'm gonna say, well, not totally chalk, but I'm gonna go with the home court advantage. Iowa State Cyclones.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's set in stone. I mean, they have the talent to go to the Final Four in the tournament. They're gonna have the whole crowd supporting them. I went to Kansas Iowa State in Hilton, and they just couldn't miss, man. I mean, it was like a nuclear bomb every time they hit a three, and it was one after the other. I kind of have PTSD from that, so I'm just gonna go with the Clones.
Yeah,
if you don't mind me,
go ahead.
If you don't mind me asking, what's turning you off from Houston? I mean, just like they're 28-3, number one team in college basketball right now. What's just about them that you don't think can win this Big 12 championship? Do you think they'll be resting their players for the bigger games coming down the road, or just like what's the deal with that?
There's something to be said about like the Big 12 gauntlet, and they've got to be a little burnt out. I mean, they brought their A game for the past month. They've beaten up on the best teams. I would say they kind of peaked tonight. I mean, at least as far as the regular season goes, I see them maybe, falling into a trap and falling short to one of these competitive Big 12 teams that are a little bit more hungry, because at the end of the day, they just won the regular season title outright. I mean, when it comes to that's the real trophy when it comes to Big 12. A lot of these elite teams don't really value the tournament like that. I just think there's other teams that will be a little bit hungrier, especially Iowa State, who will be looking for revenge because they just missed out on that regular season title. They lost to K-State tonight. They choked it. Obviously, it wouldn't have mattered because, they would have needed a Kansas win at that.
Thank God for little brother.
Yeah, that didn't even come close. So
yeah, I like
that's fair.
Good analysis, guys. Iowa State for Tommy, they've won 4 in a row. Texas Tech for Kanan, they just beat Baylor today. Good time to be playing at your best with the tournament here in just a couple of weeks away. We're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about the other Power 5 conference schools. Try to look at how their tournaments are previewing. We're gonna look at the ACC first. We got UNC, Duke, Virginia, Clemson, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, Florida State, NC State, the top 10 teams there. Who are you guys liking for the ACC championship this year?
Man, it's really top heavy this year.
I agree.
I don't see there being much of a competition outside of Duke and North Carolina. I mean, you got Wake Forest on the bubble, so they might be hungry for something. But man, I'm just looking at this list of teams, and I really just don't see anything that strikes the eye. I mean, Virginia doesn't really rate well when it comes to analytics.
Virginia was an attractive team to pick even when they were at their best. When they won the national championship, they weren't a sexy team to watch. They weren't a team that anybody really liked to pick for obvious reasons. But they don't have the same aura that they did back in the mid to late 2010s.
Yeah, ACC is not the same when Miami and Louisville are at the very bottom.
I agree.
Kind of an ugly.
It doesn't feel right. Louisville just doesn't seem like a team that should be having 3-16 years in the ACC.
I mean, when you don't have Rick, that plays a big role. But I mean, we know why they don't have Rick.
Yeah, very true.
But Thomas, I gotta say you're wrong about something though. I gotta say, you say outside of Duke and North Carolina, there's not a lot of names that pop up about you. What about Blake Hinson from Pitt? The guy is averaging 18-4 on 40% from the 45% from the field, 40% from three. This guy is a baller. He's going to be drafted in mid to late first round. I've been watching him as a little sleeper pick the entire season. He's got length. He's got the lateral quickness. He's got the athleticism. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from this kid. 6'8", 230, extremely mobile as well. Pitt is a sleeper this year. I can't lie. I think Pitt surprises a lot of people. I think Carolina's going to go down in flames. I think Duke. I have them beating Duke in the finals, and that's if not Kyle trips anybody like he did today. But Pitt,
So
they're really nice. I'm just looking at like they're on I think it says 9-game win streak. Yep, 9 games, and I'm just like, you can't beat that.
I don't know what numbers you're looking at here. I don't
I'm
see
blind.
I don't see the 9-game win streak.
Nope, that was a W6 for Carolina. My bad. My glasses got to get readjusted. My bad.
I mean,
but
I see them. That might be a fraudulent record here. I mean, you see them beating up on teams. Well, they beat Duke. They did beat Duke earlier in the year. But I mean, the thing is, you're beating Boston College, Florida State, North Carolina State. That does nothing for me.
that's fair.
I struggle to see the sleeper appeal, but Blake Henson is very raw. I will give you that.
I mean, Carolina, they're a great team. Don't get me wrong, but the last, they barely squeaked out a win against Miami. They barely squeaked out a win against NC State. They barely beat Miami again. I mean, I just don't see North Carolina making it far in this conference. Really, I really don't. I think they're going to get upset again. Like not again, but I think those close matchups towards the teams at the bottom of the conference, you can't be having that come end of the season. You should be blowing out Miami by 10, 15, 20, not barely winning by 4, barely winning by 2. I don't know if they're going to click when it comes to tournament time or what, but I'm just not sold about Carolina. I'm really not.
They just went into Cameron Indoor and beat the Blue Devils tonight.
I mean, they did. Congrats to them, but I'm still not sold on them. I'm really not. I don't know.
RJ Davis is a stud, man. I don't know if you've watched North Carolina play, but he's special.
They're also on a redemption tour after last year. I think when it gets to postseason time, I think UNC's got something to prove this year. I would have a hard time believing that anybody but UNC. I mean, I think Duke's the biggest competition. They beat them pretty convincingly twice so far this year. I think I'd be surprised if it's not the Tar Heels winning the ACC championship.
Yeah, I don't think we have much more to say about the ACC here. We should probably move on to the Big Ten.
I was like, man. All right, we are gonna move on.
I'm sorry, Pitt.
Hey, he tried for you, Pitt.
Hey, we'll see, man. I respect it.
We'll see. We'll move on to the Big Ten, and I think Purdue might be the team with the most eyeballs on them going into March this year. I mean, they got, in most people's eyes, the best player in college basketball in Zach Edey. The 1 seed last year lost to a 16 seed. They're one of those teams that they got a record, or they got a reputation now as they're fraudulent come March Madness time. Are they going to pull in Arizona and win the national championship? Well, to get there, even to get to that point, first they got to play the Big Ten tournament. They're the top seed. Illinois, shout out, is a 2. Wisconsin 3, Nebraska 4. How about Nebraska this year? I feel like Nebraska hasn't been that good at anything in really a while. Northwestern, Iowa, Michigan State, Indiana, Minnesota, Ohio State Buckeyes are number 10. They're tied with Penn State. I might have you might be looking at a bracket or something like that. I'm going off of the score, just have how their standings are in that order, so that it might be screwed up here and there. But I think this tournament is definitely Purdue versus the field. And who do we like?
I like Purdue. I think the combo of Braden Smith and Zach Edey this year has been absolutely phenomenal. Pairing them with Lance Jones, Mason Gales, Fletcher Loyal, and Trey Kaufman. This team, they're looking to make a deep run, like you said, and just in the Big Ten, nobody can really stop these guys. Whether it's Braden on the perimeter, Lance on the perimeter, or giving it to the big guy down low, Zach Edey. I just think Purdue cakewalks this conference right here. I mean, that's everything's pointing towards them. Nebraska, like you said, they haven't been good at anything in a long, long time. That they might beat that. That would be my second pick, but Purdue is just operating on a whole nother level this year. They got a chip on their shoulder. They want to prove like, hey, we're not just a regular season Big Ten, cakewalk. We want to win the main thing, and it's going to be a scary time going into that tournament for anybody else in the Big Ten.
And the thing with Purdue is what are they? They have like a minus 167 free throw discrepancy this year. A lot of their game really does come down to how lenient the refs are with contact on Zach Edey. The Big Ten refs have really been giving him all the whistles this year. So I do think that when it comes to the tournament, it should be a cakewalk. However, the real tournament is going to be a different discussion. I mean,
100%. Yeah.
I remember, I think it was the weekend that you were in town. I think we watched Purdue play Wisconsin. It was a Sunday afternoon game. They ended up winning that game by, I think it was 6. I think it was like 75-69. But I was thoroughly unimpressed by what I was seeing with Purdue. They had the game in control. All they had to do was just control the ball, get it inbounds, draw the foul, hit some free throws. They were turning it over. They were dribbling off their foot. They were making bad decisions. They just seemed like a team that was flustered. And that was a regular season February game against Wisconsin. I think they're going to be fine in the tournament. I think they're going to be just fine and win the Big Ten. But let's be honest. Does anyone at Purdue give a crap about the Big Ten after how last year went? I still don't have a lot of faith in Purdue when push comes to shove. I don't think they're losing to a 16 seed again by any means, but they are not going to be in my Final Four. That's for sure.
Oh, I mean, yeah, 100%. But like, this is just like purely Big Ten, all that. I mean, I don't trust Purdue as far as I can throw Zach Edey, and that's not very far. But Big Ten wise, they're levels above the competition. Like, yeah, like you said, they made some mental mistakes, but that was in February. Okay, conference time. That's when the pressure builds up a little bit. The underclassmen of other teams who haven't been there before, they're going to start crumbling a little bit. Purdue's just going to, trust me, cakewalk the Big Ten, win the championship. I still have them losing early in the March Madness, but Big Ten can't stop them.
All right, bookmark that for Cold Takes Exposed.
Yeah, we'll clip this one. We'll clip this one. Purdue, prove us wrong. Show us something. But
Illinois is sneaky good. Let's not sleep on Illinois.
They are.
Terrence Shannon is crazy.
He's been really good this year. It's been I think it's definitely a 2-horse race between Purdue and Illinois to see who ends up taking it. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a 1-2 seed in the conference championship. Not exactly a Power 5 school, but I would be remiss if we didn't spend a little bit of time discussing the Big East, because I think that has an argument for being one of the best basketball conferences at this point in time. Connecticut, Creighton, and Marquette all look fantastic this year. What are you guys liking? Obviously, UConn's the defending national champions. I don't think a team is repeated as national champions since the Joakim Noah, Al Horford, Billy Donovan, Florida Gators in 06 and 07. But if a team was going to do it, UConn is looking pretty good. Creighton and Marquette, like I mentioned, also in a lot of people's eyes, probably a top 10 team in the country this year. How are you guys viewing that tournament?
Yeah, this might be even worse than the Big Ten. I mean, it's UConn and then levels below everyone else.
I mean, I watched Creighton beat UConn a few weeks ago. It's the first time they'd ever beaten a number 1 team. It kind of gave me shades to KU beating Houston early in the year. Obviously, it's not as big of a imbalance between the teams. Like, UConn's an objectively better team than Creighton. I think we can agree that. I think Houston's a better team than KU as well, but I think it might be tighter. You could also say it's historical success as well. But Creighton shot the lights out, simply put. The way they were shooting, when they catch fire like that, there's no team that's going to beat them. I'm not sure. Obviously, a game like that, a game like KU beating Houston, isn't sustainable for a full season. You're not going to shoot as well as you did that night every night. But that's a sneaky team. That's a team that has that in their back pocket to where they can blitz you like that, and there's really nothing you can do. So I think UConn is the favorite to win this tournament, but I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk by any means. I think Marquette and Creighton are going to make them earn it.
Harry, I gotta agree with you. Like UConn, arguably has been the best team this year in the Big East. But Creighton, Marquette, just looking at them, they got something to prove. Like you said, when Creighton catches on fire, they're tough to stop. But in the end, it's gonna be UConn. It's gonna be UConn.
Yeah, I really do like your comparison with the Creighton UConn game and the Kansas Houston because I mean that Creighton atmosphere was incredible. They had the whiteout going. Everyone was hyped up. I mean, you see a couple threes go, and then it's like no one can miss. I think if they rematch, it would be a completely different story. I I really do. I want you guys to keep an eye on Seton Hall.
Okay.
They had
Okay.
a lot of quality wins earlier in the season, beat some ranked teams. They have it in them. I know they stumbled mid-season, but I did get to see them play against Mizzou, and that was actually one of Mizzou's better games.
I was
But
about to say that's not saying a whole lot if they beat Mizzou.
Seton Hall has a lot of talent, and I wouldn't be surprised if they sneak into the tournament and win a couple games.
I think a team that's got their backs against the wall, like Seton Hall, that's a team you always got to keep your eye on when they're right on that playoff bubble by pretty much every metric. I like that call for Seton Hall. We're gonna move on now to the Pac-12. I think we all picked UConn to win that. Agree?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. I think we agree. We're gonna move on to the Pac-12 now. The last Pac-12 tournament. Rest easy. Pac-12 gone but never forgotten. We've got Arizona, the top seed, Washington State, Colorado, Oregon, Utah, UCLA, Washington, Colorado, Arizona State, Stanford, the top 10 teams there. This is another one. This Arizona's the Purdue of the West Coast, in my opinion. I mean, literally like to a T. They're the odds-on favorites to win this tournament. They should be one of the favorites to win the national tournament. They were a 2 seed that lost to a 15 seed last year. Same day. Same fraudulent reputation, same whispers of not being able to get it done. I think this one's pretty much a slam dunk. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Washington State can be sneaky. I'll throw it out there, and then they did beat Arizona earlier in the year. But besides that, there's not really much that excites me in this conference.
I agree.
I have not been watching much Pac-12. Earlier in the season, I kind of tuned in just to see how Bronny would do, and there's not much to watch there. He's barely getting minutes. Yeah, kind of a letdown. So I'm not very well read on this conference.
Same. I mean, I think the only game I ever caught, outside of Bronny, I think it was a late night Colorado and Oregon game. I honestly don't know anything about this conference. I got to go Arizona just purely based on how strong a team is. I've seen some clips on them, like they basically had the same guys back from last year. I got them winning the Pac-12 final time.
I wasn't big on the addition of Caleb Love, but he's been very, very good for them, averaging 19 points a game, shooting 43% from the field, which still isn't exactly where you'd want him to be. But I mean, his biggest claim to fame is probably the 2022 national championship when he was with North Carolina. Tommy, you obviously remember this game as a KU fan. We've talked about it in the past. He's obviously not going to shoot as poorly as he did that game every night. That was just, young kid playing for a championship, kind of just moment might have gotten to him a little bit. But, he's got an outside shot at coming back this year. He's I believe he's a senior, obviously a CBC kid, but he's kind of giving that team what they've been looking for this year. I gotta say, I think I'm more bullish on Arizona this year in the tournament than I am on Purdue. I think I see them making a bigger run than the Boilermakers would.
Man, talk about dodging a bullet for Caleb Love. I mean, he was going to be attending Michigan this year, and then of course admissions wouldn't let him in.
Right.
How good is? I mean, you add Caleb Love to that team. Maybe it adds 5 wins, and they're still out of the tournament.
Right. He was also linked to Mizzou for a long time as well too. Can you imagine that?
Man,
I mean, I don't think that team goes winless in the Pac-12, but they're sure as hell not jumping into a tournament conversation by any means. Yeah, I think he ended up at the right place for him. Moving on now, this is the last of the Power 5 teams we're going to talk about, the SEC. We got Tennessee, Kentucky, Auburn, Alabama, South Carolina, who was projected by a lot of teams to finish last in that conference. They are fifth. They are 24-6 on the season. They're going to be in the tournament, so great stuff there for South Carolina. Florida, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, LSU, Ole Miss is the top 10. My money would say Tennessee. What do you guys think?
Tennessee, 100% Tennessee.
No, I'm going to go contrarian. I'm going to say Kentucky.
You would.
I'm going to say Kentucky because in these tournaments where you're playing one day after the other, you're going to need depth. And, man, Kentucky has depth. They have NBA player, NBA caliber talent just sitting on the bench. I mean, it's crazy. I would give anything to have that for Kansas right now. And when you're playing game after game and your starter's getting tired, you can just bring in a hot shot like Kentucky can. I mean, I can definitely see them making a run.
I like that pick. Looking at Kentucky's roster, they've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They've had 9 players get starts this year. The only one that started every game is their guard, Antonio Reeves. That just shows you the depth that they have. They've got 5 players scoring over 10 points per game. Everyone's getting pretty solid minutes. John Calipari's got a deep bench, like you mentioned, that he can rely on. I like that pick for Kentucky. I think they can definitely make some noise come later this month.
I don't know. Something about Dalton just screams to me that he's just going to throw everybody on the SEC on its head come tournament time. I love watching this kid. This kid's an automatic bucket. He's going to get drafted. I think he's going to beat Kentucky. I really do. Something about him just screams, aura screams, stopper screams, I'm him. Watch out for Dalton, man. That's all I'm going to say. He just has a swagger to his game that, no disrespect, like you said, Antonio Reeves, Trey Mitchell, Rob Dillingham on Kentucky, or even DJ Wagner. There's just something about this kid that you cannot stop. You know it's coming. It's inevitable. Just like Northwest basketball, get into the finals of the NCAA conference. But this kid is special. I love watching him play. I ordered a jersey of his like a week ago. It still has yet to come in though. But this kid, man, I'm telling you, he's gonna bring his best in the SEC championship game. I wouldn't be surprised if he averages 25. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, he dropped 40 today against Kentucky, and they still lost. So,
I mean, they'll be all right.
I don't know.
Trust me.
All right, I think that wraps up our college basketball talk. I think I'm calling it. This might set a record for the longest unsportsmanlike content episode.
Yeah,
we're off to a
probably
flying start already, and it's gonna get off to an even better start. We're gonna keep it going. We're gonna bring back one of our old favorites. The 5-minute fast break with Kanan Bielavat starts now. You're on the clock.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Rookie of the Year vote race, whatever you want to call it, was closed day one the moment Victor Wembanyama stepped in the league. As a rookie, this man has had 2 quadruple doubles in different ways. He's averaging 21 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 blocks per game. Thomas, I can't remember the last time a rookie played this great in his debut season. This kid screams not only face of the franchise, star. This guy screams face of the NBA, a global ambassador. When was a 7'1" kid, 7'2", 7'3", hell, I'll give him 7'5" on a day when he wants to wear Nike Air Pros. This kid can dribble, shoot, defend, pass. He does everything so exceptionally well. Greg Popovich has turned this kid into a diamond. And come next season, hell, he might even win Defensive Player of the Year. He's definitely going to be an all-star next season. I have imagined 25 and 13 with 4 blocks a game. And I've said this multiple times to Harry. I've said this multiple times to you. This guy will average 5 blocks a game one day. Only, I think, Mark Eaton and maybe Manu Bol did that. But just something about that kid's face of the franchise. Now, moving on to the MVP vote. Obviously, I think if Joel Embiid didn't get hurt, as much as it pains Harry to say it, he was going to win his 2nd straight MVP. Last year was debatable, but since he's gone down, Nikola Jokic has once again established himself as the face of the NBA's big men. Look, 26 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists, and on 58% shooting. This guy's passing is a whole nother ball game. He's gotten even better than last year. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm watching him go up against centers like AD and B when he wasn't ducking him or hurt. and he's just cooking them. It doesn't matter who's guarding him. You can't stop Jokic. The Nuggets, they're my favorites coming out the West, and obviously my Bucks coming out the East. But Jokic is just unbelievable to watch. Every game, it depends on, am I going to get 4 points and 30 assists? Am I going to go for a 30-point triple-double? Or am I going to let my teammates do most of the work? The guy is fabulous to watch, and it's just something like he gives me Tim Duncan vibes. He does his job, clocks out, spends his time with his family. I love that. Now, the best performance of the year, I got to give that to the Orlando Magic. Coming into this season, a lot of teams wanted to know, hey, can this team make the play-in? Can this team take the next step? The Orlando Magic said, hold my theme song. Let me show you something. Paolo Banchero has absolutely erupted in his second year, averaging 25 points in this last month, 25, 7, and 5, and he's getting no media recognition. This kid is special. You pair him with Franz Wagner, who's going to be his running mate for the next 5 to 6 years. They're going to do something special. I really like the Anthony Black pickup. The Chuma, I'm slaughtering his name, but the big man out of Auburn, Jalen Suggs, Kevon Harris, Jet Howard, Fultz, the Wagner brothers, Wendell Carter Jr. Even this team is going to make noise come playoff time. They're my sleeper pick to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. That team just screams future. God forbid any injuries. This team is going to go far. You have a superstar, you have your 2, and you have your 3. This team, 5-7 years from now, will be contending for a championship. And now the team that has underdelivered the entire year, you're thinking I'm going to say the Detroit Pistons? Hell no, I'm saying the Washington Wizards. Mr. Kyle Kuzma. It's like no one wants to be that team. Well, I got news for you, buddy. You're that team now. You're the worst team in the NBA. You got Jordan Poole, who's been phenomenal off the bench. I'm going to give him that. But as a starter, he absolutely killed your season. Tyus Jones, a really good point guard that any team would want. Denny Avdia, bust. I don't like this kid. Yes, he's an okay defender. Yes, he can score, but those are empty stats. The only person on that team that I think has the potential outside of Tyus Jones to contribute to a championship team is Corey Kispert. I love this kid shooting 37% from 3. This kid is going to be something nice for any team looking for a 3-point shooter off the bench, pairing him with your starting point guard. But the Washington Wizards, man, you lost 16 straight. Yes, you beat the Charlotte Hornets. Congratulations. But you're celebrating like you won games for the NBA Finals, sweeping somebody. You haven't done nothing, okay? Washington's in for a very long rebuild. They're going to be bottom of the East for such a long time. And I got to say, Defensive Player of the Year, I got to give it. I know I mentioned Victor winning it next year, Thomas, but something in me has him as finishing as second. But Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year, he's been phenomenal.
5-minute and change fast break from Konami. Good stuff.
I was counting the time. I'm like, okay, I don't have much. Let me go pick my Defensive Player of the Year because I forgot that. Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year.
I would agree with that, Kanan. Well done as always. Couple questions for you that I thought of while you were delivering your monologue. First off, Victor Wembanyama, I think he's got an argument for the best rookie of the 21st century. I mean,
100%.
I think every bar that was set for this kid, he's exceeded in every conceivable way. My question to you is, the Spurs as a team have not kind of replicated the success that Wemby's had so far this year. They're out of the playoffs. How long of a grace period does Victor Wembanyama get in San Antonio before people start expecting success, before they start expecting an Orlando Magic type of leap, like you mentioned? And also, what's a realistic timeline looking at the state of the San Antonio Spurs that they can get to that point where they can be a play-in team, maybe even a top 6 team, because West is loaded, like we know?
Well, first, if you have your star 1, you need a clear-cut number 2. When I'm looking at this team, it's not Keldon Johnson. It's not Jeremy Sohan. You got to get a 2, and in this draft, you're going to have some really good players. They're going to build through that draft. It's going to take them a couple seasons. I think everybody in the NBA knows that, hey, this guy, he's going to need some time with this team because I think right now they're 15 and 50. I don't know personally. But you can't have Devin Vassell be your second clear-cut man. You can't have Keldon Johnson. You can't have Zach. No, this guy needs a point guard. And I'm just saying, if San Antonio calls up Atlanta and be like, hey, what do you want for Trae Young? They can get something done. Me personally, I think Trae Young and Victor, they would run the West if that were ever to happen. They need a point guard. You guys need just a little bit of veteran leadership. I mean, just looking at this team, you obviously have Doug McDermott, Cedi Osman, but the only person that has had a ring to their name was Osman, and he's not really that guy anymore. He used to be in Cleveland. You got to have some veterans. You got to have a big man to pair around Wemby that can give him some advice on how to structure it. You know, if I'm the Spurs, I might be looking into Jonas Valanciunas. I think his contract's expiring either this year or next year. You have him coming off the bench, or just tutoring Wemby, because I feel like Wemby and Valanciunas, like if Valanciunas was to just pull this kid under his wing, I think we would see levels of Wembanyama that we couldn't even imagine. I really like that. But you need a point guard. You need a lot. Okay. Come free agency, we're going to talk about it. I don't know who's on the free agent market right now, but it's going to take a couple seasons. I'm going to say the grace period, 3 to 4 seasons.
Getting Wemby a point guard that he can like run a pick and roll with pretty regularly is just salivating. Just the options and kind of the results that you could potentially get from that. I think that's
100%.
I kind of like that.
Like,
the other question. Go ahead.
I just want to mention, like, if the Spurs want to get Rob Dillingham, I think that would be a really, really good combo right there. I don't know if you want to wait through the draft. I don't know if you want to build through the draft. I mean, you should build through the draft. You're not going to win championships anytime soon. The only time you got to make that, red button trade deal is when you got to take it to the next level. You're years beyond that. If you want to build through the draft, go ahead. We would understand that 100%.
The Spurs have never been really a sexy free agent spot. It's not in LA, it's not in Miami or anything like that. But I think once you get a once in a generation talent like Wemby, there is some potential to maybe kind of build through free agency. You're not going to get, you're not going to Kevin Durant or anything like that in free agency. But I think you could get some really good depth pieces that want to come there and play and try to build something with a guy like Victor Wembanyama. Moving on. The second thing you talked about was the MVP race, and I think we can agree that right now, if the regular season ended, it would be Nikola Jokic winning his third MVP. So my question to you is, that would be Nikola's third MVP, like I just said. Right now, I have the Nuggets as the favorites in the West still. I think until someone beats them, I think they're the best team in the West. So, say we're in mid-June, Nikola Jokic just won his third MVP, and now he's got his second ring in a row. As of right now, in June 2024, well, 3 months from now, where would that put Nikola Jokic all time? He's got 3 rings. He's got 2 MVPs and he has been drafted. He got drafted 10 years ago.
Top 20, 100%. I would have him
around. Honestly,
right now I have him in my top mid to late 20s. If he were to win that, top 15 actually. 3 MVPs, 2 NBA Finals wins, obviously 2 Finals MVPs if everything goes to plan. All-Star. He's already the greatest second-round pick of all time. I don't know. I got to give it another couple of seasons. I don't want to jump the gun too early and then let's say Giannis or Embiid goes crazy and wins two more rings, or they win 2 more MVPs. So just to be safe, I'm going to put him top 15, top 18, just to be safe. If he didn't get robbed last year, I would say he would have cracked my top 10. That's just me, though. But if he were to win another ring, when he's going to win that another MVP, he was going to be my top 15. If he doesn't win an MVP, a ring, excuse me, I would have him 18, 19. I would have to do some shuffling around, but by the end of the season, he's definitely going to be a top 20 player of all time already.
Where do you have Kevin Durant all time? Player? Let me ask you. Where do you have Kevin Durant?
Oh, you're going to hate me, but he's not. I have him in the 13 to 14 range. I think if he wins a ring this year, he might surpass him. KD might slide down my list. Jokic might rise. I mean, I don't
Okay,
even
well
have KD.
here's where I disagree with you. I think I'm higher on Jokic than you are ranking wise. He's gone. He doesn't even want to hear my argument. I can't believe it. But
I'm just charging my laptop.
if
It's
you want
at
to go, if you want to
6%.
go, if you want to go purely through records, this would be Nikola's second ring. KD's got second rings. It'll be his third MVP. KD's only got one. I think Nikola Jokic is one of the most revolutionary centers of all time. The way
100%.
the way he's completely changed the way bigs are playing. The best passer, maybe in the NBA right now. Definitely, he's the best passing big man in NBA history. His finishing down low
100%.
is so unbelievably good. He's a lock. I mean, you look at all the stats, all the analytics about just the Jokic post up hook shot. It's the most surefire shot in all of basketball. And the fact that he's got a 3-point shot, the fact that he's done all of that in 10 years, where you have a guy like Kevin Durant, and this is no slight against Kevin Durant by any means, but you have a guy like Kevin Durant ahead of him all time who got drafted 17 years ago, has the one ring. Yeah, it was a great year, obviously. His 2 rings came in Golden State. Outside of those years where he went to a Golden State team that was already unbelievably good, the farthest he's gotten is the NBA Finals 12 years ago with the Oklahoma City Thunder and lost in 5 games. I think Nikola Jokic, we are talking about potentially as of this June, we might be talking about already a top 10 player all time. I think there are few holes in this guy's offensive game. He's got the resume. He's got the accolades. He's got the aura about him. You watch this guy and you realize it's something special. It's not a guy that kind of just, I don't want to say slips through the cracks, but it's not a guy that you end the game and you're like, oh, this guy had 25 points and 9 rebounds. Wow, I guess he must have played pretty well. Every offensive possession with the Denver Nuggets, you're watching him. You're hoping Michael Porter Jr. doesn't just chuck up a brick 3 from the corner and they get the ball to him. Nothing against Michael Porter Jr., by the way, but
that seems kind of
I am so high on Nikola Jokic offensively. I think he's one of the best offensive centers we've ever seen, especially that we've ever seen in a long time. I don't think there's anybody in the league that can do the things Nikola Jokic is doing right now.
And you're 100% right, but like just looking at my top 10, like in no order, I have Kareem, MJ, Braun, Curry, Bird, Shaq, Duncan, Wilt, Kobe, and then you get towards there. I just looking at I don't think he passes anybody of these guys yet. He's certainly not passing MJ. We can agree that. Not passing LeBron. He's not passing Kareem. Not passing Wilt, Magic, Bird, Curry's in my top 10. I don't care what nobody says. He's not passing Shaq just yet. He's not passing Duncan just yet. He might. I have Kobe 10. I might get crucified for this, but I just don't see him. Even if he wins that second ring this year, he doesn't crack my top 10. If he wins a third ring, or if he never wins another ring, he's definitely going to win another couple MVPs, the All-Star accolades. That's going to just keep on not logging in. And it just needs time for him. If he wins it this year, he'll definitely be top 15 for me, okay? Like, I'm changing that. He's definitely going to be that. But top 10, I can't. I love the guy myself. I love watching him play. But over players like that have a little bit of a deeper resume, and that's nothing taken away from Jokic. Jokic has a fantastic resume. He's a fantastic basketball player, arguably one of the most gifted natural offensive players of all time. EuroLeague, NBA, doesn't matter. I just can't put him in my top 10 amongst some of these greats of all time. Just yet.
In 10 years, we're talking about a guy that with a 30% MVP rate. If he was a baseball player, he's a Hall of Famer based off just his MVP percentage. The only guys in the league that have more than 3 MVPs, which Jokic is probably going to get. I don't think Shea eclipses him. Kareem has 6. Jordan has 5. Russell has 5. I think Russell's one of the most overrated players of all time, by the way. We can get to that at a later time. LeBron and Wilt. That's it. That's the entire list. You got Larry Bird has 3. Magic has 3. Moses has 3. Look, Nikola Jokic is going to have 3. That's 9 guys right there. He will be tied for 6th all time in MVPs. One of the most dominant championship runs we've ever seen. I don't think time is an issue with this guy. I think this guy has shown you everything that you possibly need to have had shown to you. I don't think playoff success is an issue by any means.
No,
Boys.
not at all. But
Boys, this is like a 30-minute fast break at this point. We gotta wrap this up.
I just can't put Jokic in my top 10 right now. Harry's gonna kill me. I know.
I think he's 10 to 12. I think we'll agree to disagree on that, but I think
who's your top 10 though?
I'd have to get to that at a later time. I think he's got an argument.
All right, we had the group chat for a reason.
Like you mentioned, like Jordan, Braun, Kareem. He's not there yet. We're not saying anything like that. But
he's not above Bird, Shaq, Duncan, Kobe, Curry, Will. Like, come on, brother.
I think he's got an argument. We're moving on.
I had a question. Hold on. Where does the Orlando Magic theme song rank all time in basketball anthems?
Oh, number 1, Orlando Magic.
It's so good.
Orlando Magic. I heard it for the first time, and like I just played it on repeat. I was like, Orlando, man. Like I'm not even a fan of the Magic, and I'm listening to that.
I am now.
I mean, yeah,
it's
catchy.
For sure. All right, that was all.
Tommy had to get his little thing in. All right,
sponsored by the Orlando Magic.
We're gonna move on now. It's off on the agenda. Sorry, boys, but we're gonna start with the Cardinals. I think you guys can join in a little bit on this one. So I'm looking right now, the over-under for wins for the Cardinals. Keep in mind, this is a team that went 71-91 last year. The over-under is on FanDuel is 84.5 wins. What are we hitting there?
I'm gonna let you guys go first.
No, you're going.
Well, Harry,
you're going before me. I got some things to say.
Harry, you think we've gotten significantly better in the offseason?
This says we've gotten 13.5 wins better.
No, we haven't. Like, no, we haven't. We are a retirement home, boys. I might get killed for this, but look, the hitting is not the problem, okay? Everybody that has a brain knows that the Cardinals' offense is not a problem. It is that pitching staff. We have 35-year-olds, 36, 37. Sonny Gray's injured. Lance Lynn is averaging like 10 ERAs a game. Under, and this is painful for me to say, but I think our pitching is going to be the reason why we don't crack 70 wins.
Don't crack 70, wow.
For the first, I think it was like the last time the Cardinals finished with sub 70 wins was 61 or 71, but just something about that pitching just screams, we're going to make your summer a living hell. Jordan Walker can hit as many home runs as he can. Goldie's going to hit home runs. Gorman, Arenado, but that pitching is going to be our Achilles heel. I have us getting 69 wins on the dot.
So we go 69-93. Two losses more than last year.
Yep.
Tommy,
yep.
What are you picking?
I'm gonna go under, but I think we sneak into a wild card spot. I think we go 82-80.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Here we go, boys.
Not only do I think we go under, I think it is in this front office's. I think this is in this franchise's best interest to lose 85-90 games, like Kanan just suggested. Here's the thing. I'm going to name some names here. Wilson Contreras, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Gorman, Paul DeYoung, Nolan Arenado, Tyler O'Neill, Lars Nootbaar, Jordan Walker, Alec Burleson. That's your starting 9 from last year, according to Baseball Reference. DeYoung, 92 OPS, gone. O'Neill, 94 OPS, gone. That's a perfectly fine roster. That's a perfectly fine lineup. Add in Mason Wynn at shortstop. I'm huge on him. I think he's going to be fantastic. Brendan Donovan, I think the world of that guy. That guy is one of my favorite players to watch. He will give you absolutely everything when he's healthy. That was a problem last year. 115 OPS plus. You can live with that. That's perfectly fine sample size. That's above average. Carlson, I don't think we've seen everything that there is to see from Carlson. I wouldn't be surprised if he's traded before the year starts. Honestly, we have a logjam that we'll get to in a little bit in the middle infield and outfield. We'll get to that in a little bit. That's a perfect Tommy Edman too. He's hurt to start the year. Nootbaar's hurt to start the year too. That's not a problem. But no one gives a shit about that because that's never been the problem with the Cardinals even last year. Starting line or rotation last year, Michaelis, was not good last year after we just signed him to a contract that's paying him, I think, $20 million per year. Montgomery's gone. Flaherty's gone. Probably for the best. Matz is gone. Wainwright's retired. Dakota Hudson's gone. So now we know it's so obvious that what this team needed was top of the line starting pitching. What did I tell you guys all last year? We have these big issues. We so clearly know what the problem is and how to fix them, and we're gonna end up with our ace being Sonny Gray. Who's the we signed this year? We signed Lance Lynn, first day of free agency. That's funny. He's a former Cardinal. Okay, fine. Bring him in. He'll be the fifth starter. Next day, we signed Kyle Gibson. Nothing against Kyle Gibson, but those are the two free agent signings that you make if you're a team that wants to win anything worth a shit this year. And then who's our ace? It's Sonny Gray. And he's hurt, by the way, because all these guys are over 35 years old. That's what pitchers do when they're 35 plus. They get hurt. You have two free agent pitchers this year that are free agents right now. That would be your ace, even if Sonny Gray weren't hurt. Go get Jordan Montgomery. Go get Blake Snell. Blake Snell just won a Cy Young Award. And no one is going after them. I don't know why. Is it a Scott Boras thing? Is it an MLB thing? I don't know. But everything you hear about these guys, they're talking with teams. And what's the report about the Cardinals? They've had no interaction with either one of them. None. Montgomery was a Cardinal last year. We traded for him for Harrison Bader. He gave us a year. He was great. Why do we have no interest in bringing him back? Is the team too good for him? We're Canad's talking about him losing 90 plus games this year. What are we doing? You cannot convince me that this front office is in the interest of winning baseball games, of winning a division. The worst division in the MLB, by the way. The Cincinnati Reds are probably the favorites to win this fucking thing. That tells you how bad it is. And we're probably going to finish last again, and it might be for the best. Maybe that gets John Mozeliak out of town if fans realize that this team sucks come August, and we have games looking like the Kansas City Royals where 15,000 fans at most are showing up through the gates on a Thursday night paying their hard-earned money. Maybe that's what's going to get Oliver Marmol out of town. He should have gotten fired after last year. I don't know why the hell he's still around. And he's not even the biggest problem. Everyone thought, because he threw Tyler O'Neill under the bus early on in the season. There were problems before that with the 22 wildcard game against Philly. But calling out O'Neill was weird. Both parties look like crap in that scenario. O'Neill's gone. Marmol's going to be gone. Let's just face facts. Yadier Molina is going to be our manager in 2025. This is a punt year for no reason. You convinced Nolan Arenado that this team's going to be competitive. You convinced him to stick around when he could have opted out and gone to a hell of a team and would probably have a chance at a World Series this year. And you're walking out there, Miles Michaelis is going to be starting on opening day. There is nothing to gain from competing this season. There is nothing to gain from pretending to be a good team. Like Kanan said, I'm rooting for Mason Wynn. I'm huge on him and Jordan Walker. I hope they make strides this year. I freaking love Larson Newbar. I think he's a little bit overrated. People are saying he's like a top 10 outfielder in the league and crazy stuff like that. I don't think he's quite that, but he's a great guy. Love having him on my team. Paul Goldschmidt's a Hall of Famer. Nolan Arenado's a Hall of Famer. Wilson Contreras got a bad hand last year. I think that guy handled it as well as anybody could. And it doesn't matter because this team sucks and they should suck. And I think I would be more mad if they do what Tommy predicted and go 82-80 just to get their asses kicked in the wild card once again when they won 93 games in 22 and got swept by the Phillies. Is the way this team is built right now, do you trust them to win anything?
No, I don't trust them. The problem with that front office, Harry, and I'm pretty sure all of us can agree, they've been complacent for way too long. I remember talking to you last season before that season kicked off. I really wanted us to get Logan Gilbert. Like you said, we have too many infielders. This kid is 26, had 200 strikeouts last season for the Mariners, 13-7. This kid screams Cardinal, but we didn't get him. And we just keep signing these older pitchers whose arms are about to fall off their socket. It's like picking up a ribeye steak from the bone and the meat just falls down. It has to stop. And at some point, we as the fans have to hold the front office accountable. We have to boycott. We have to just stop showing up to games. I'm not saying sell the team. Not saying that. You might. I'm not. But we just gotta get this together, man. And it's frustrating because St. Louis is a town known for baseball, but for the last 10 years, we've been
Yeah, and earlier I said you're probably gonna have to trade a guy like Dylan Carlson or Alec Burleson. I think it's gonna be Carlson, and I can already see him being the next Randy Rosarena, Dolis Garcia. Cardinals didn't get everything out of him. He goes somewhere else and just immediately blossoms. By the way, you have that logjam because you signed two other guys who are 35 years old, Matt Carpenter and Brandon Crawford. Crawford, I like him. I think back in the day he would have turned awesome double plays with Colton Wong. I think he's going to be a good mentor for Mason Wynn in particular. But what the hell are you signing Matt Carpenter for? He's the same player, bless you. He's the same player that he was in 2021 when he couldn't hit worth a crap. He was hitting fly balls to the warning track. The only reason why he really had that career revival with the Yankees, which was cool to see, by the way, is because the Yankees have the shortest right field porch in all of baseball. That was a perfect fit for him. It had nothing to do with him really changing his swing. It was just a matter of circumstance. He was at the perfect field for him. And now he's back at Busch Stadium. What are we doing, man? Who is he going to take at bats from that's beneficial for anybody? I love Matt Carpenter. What does this do for us, man?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be a rough summer for us. Tommy, do you have anything to say? Harry's about to pop a blood vessel.
We haven't even.
Honestly, all that just makes my prediction even funnier because that would be worst case scenario is us sneaking into that wild card, losing.
Me off is you're going to be right.
I cross my fingers. I'm wrong.
We're gonna go on a damn 10-game winning streak like right after the deadline when we didn't do anything, and we're gonna have false hope into thinking, oh my god, we're gonna make a run. Arenado's playing great, Walker's developing, Newbar's on fire, and then it's just not gonna matter.
I think it's just a year. I think it's time for us as Cardinals to be the basement dwellers of the Central just for a little bit. I'm not saying for the next 20 years, but it's time, man. We got to blow that front office up.
We allowed to cuss now?
We're going to get mileage on this bleep button. I saved it, unfortunately. We might have to put like an Unsportsmanlike Content logo over the mouth or something like that. We'll see. We'll see what we can do.
I mean, that was pretty forceful.
I mean,
we have to, though.
I mean, I drank the Kool-Aid on the team last year. Kanan remembers this. We did the round table for KGSM. I picked them to win the World Series. I was that happy.
He did.
I thought it was in the cards. The way the Offmans was looking, the way Jordan Walker was sitting in spring training, Waino's, farewell season, getting Wilson Contreras. Man, I thought it was right, and just about everything went wrong. And we don't appear to have learned anything from that. We've signed the most St. Louis Cardinal names imaginable. But you think of like St. Louis Cardinal guys and you think of like a depth piece. You think of like a Woody Williams when you got Matt Morris and Chris Carpenter at the top of the rotation. No, these are going to be like your ace, your third, your fourth starter most likely. Because Steven Matz, if he's anything above a number 4 starter, you are screwed. And who does that leave your 3? Does it leave you with Kyle Gibson or Lance Lynn? Like, who do you trust in this rotation? We didn't even talk about the bullpen. Who do you trust?
I don't trust nobody. All I'm saying is...
I trust Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery, and we're not going to get them. Blake Snell's going to be an Angel, and Jordan Montgomery, who knows? He's not going to be a Ranger. Talks about Boston. I'm surprised neither of them has signed yet, by the way.
All I'm saying is if Ollie's still our guy mid-July, I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna flip. He should have been gone last season, but for some reason, I don't know what dirt he has on that family. He's not.
Firing him midsummer does no good. You just got.
Well, yeah, but we're not.
You're subscribed to this garbage season we're gonna end up with. You're on it for the long haul, dude. I'm sure he's got a bag packed already, but he's gonna stick around until October, And because
I hate it.
let's be honest, are we going to? I would be shocked if it's anyone but Yadier Molina as the manager next year.
It has to be Yachty.
I mean, just all the communication, like him potentially joining the front office. Some reason that didn't happen. I don't know what it is, but it's concerning. I mean, it's just bad, man. Like, this isn't the Cardinals we knew, and it's the same guys that supposedly built it up and lucked out in a 2011 World Series team that are just watching it crumble and don't do anything about it. Like,
Harry, I think we got to move on,
Sonny
bro.
Gray is not the answer, man. And now we got to move on to the next category because Kanan's yelling at me, and it's the St. Louis Blues. What a bad day I'm having all of a sudden. Look, the trade deadline just wrapped up in the NHL Friday. A lot of moves happened. The Blues have some obvious free agents, upcoming free agents that they had to trade. Kasperi Kapanen is making 3.2. He's a guy that could help out a playoff team in a bind. He kills penalties. He's got speed. He's got an offensive upside that we just haven't seen this year, and the Blues would have been happy to retain to get a draft pick. Sammy Blais making $1 million this year. He's having a bad year. He's the same kind of guy. He's just a great guy. He's a good fourth liner if you need one. Marco Scandella is making 3.275. He would be a great third pairing guy for a cup team. So those are all guys that, by the way, are not going to be back with the Blues next year. Unrestricted free agents. This team's not going to make the playoffs. And the only move that the Blues made was trading our AHL goaltender Malcolm Subban to the Columbus Blue Jackets for everyone's favorite future considerations, which for you non-hockey fans out there means nothing. Maybe a 7th round pick down the road. That is not going to mean anything. We are never going to know what those future considerations are. It might be a box of wine. Doug Armstrong is, at his best, the best general manager in the NHL. He built that 2019 team masterfully. Some of his trades, the Ryan O'Reilly trade, loved it. Tage Thompson's a stud in Buffalo. You got a captain, a cup, a Selke, and a Conn Smythe out of it. Great trade. Guys that we were trying to get rid of. Braden Shen deal, masterful. Oscar Sundqvist trade was great. You gave up Ryan Reeves and got a first-round pick and a guy that loves the team so much you just signed him. It was a deal made in 2017. You just signed him yesterday to a 2-year deal. That's a home run. What other trades? The Pavel Buchnevich trade, fantastic. You got Pavel Buchnevich, who's one of your best players, for a second-round pick in Sammy Blais, who came back to you in the Tarasenko trade. Listen, we're 32, 28, and 3. We're not in the playoff hunt. We're not good enough to make the playoffs. You've got to pick a side. All he was saying in the interviews afterwards was that he didn't like the moves that would have made them buyers. You shouldn't be a buyer right now. The clear direction is to sell. The first guy you got to trade, I think you got to trade Jordan Kyrou. I don't think he's going to work in St. Louis. I think that ship has sailed. You tried firing Craig Berube and seeing if it was going to get a spark out of him. Did for a little bit. He's not playing up to an I don't even know what he's making. It's at least an $8 million contract. 8.125 over the next 7 years. He's not playing up to that right now. And I think now is the best time to trade him. I just think that ship has sailed. I don't think we're going to get anything more out of him than we got in 22 when he was fantastic. That leaves the question of Pavel Buchnevich. There was talks about him getting traded in the deadline this year because he's a free agent after next year. So a team would potentially get 2 playoff runs out of him. The Blues would get a really good haul. They didn't trade him. I'm okay with that. But I don't know if you sign him. Here's the deal. The defense is a mess. Tried to trade Torrey Krug. He has a no movement clause like just about every one of these guys for some reason. Rejected a trade to Philly. Justin Falk is having a very bad year. Is someone going to trade for him at $6.5 million for 3 years? I don't think so. Colton Parayko is having a great year. Do you trade a guy like him? He's also making 6.5. We got 3 defensemen making 6.5 million. I think if you get Parayko a solid partner, he could be He's not going to be what he was in 2019. He's best when he's a second guy. He's not a top defenseman. Nick Leddy, I think you got to trade him. $4 million for 2 more years after this. Someone's going to take that on. Scandella's gone. Booch is going to be 30 when his contract is up. I think if you give him 8 years, you're looking at just at another anchor contract potentially, because I don't think this team's going to get any better. I think you trade him at the in the offseason. I think the best plan of attack for the Blues is just a full-on rebuild at this point. And it sucks to say because I love this team. I love these guys. Some of them are still there, obviously, from the Cup team. But it's just not here right now. And Bennington's having a great year. He's carrying this team to relevance, but the pieces just aren't there for a team that's going to be competitive in the near future. I think the move is to just sell what you can and just kind of rebuild. You've got draft picks. You got really good prospects coming up. I think it's time to let them marinate and see what's going to happen. That one wasn't as much of a rant as the Cardinals one. That one I'm less mad about. I went away for a little bit. What'd you have to do?
I mean, without Benner, this team would be so bad. Probably even worse than the Sharks.
I mean, Robert Thomas is having the best year Blues had since Pavel Demitra in 2003, and it doesn't matter. He might get 90 points this year, and it doesn't matter. We're not going to be a playoff team. We're not bad enough to get a good lottery pick either. We are in the worst place an NHL team can be. That's why you just got to pick a side, and the side is to sell. I think it's pretty obvious right now. Just rebuild for the future. I think if the Blues did that, fans would be a lot more accepting than what they are right now. Just write out a letter, say, hey, love your support, thank you, everything like that. We might not be good for a while, but trust us, we're going to make the best steps towards getting back to where we used to be. The Rangers did that a few years ago, and they're one of the best teams in the league. Just do what you got to do. It's going to suck. Just do it. That's all.
And you hit the nail on the head.
All right, that does it for my unhappy part of the podcast. I guess we can quickly talk about the NASCAR race. It's in Phoenix this week. I got Tyler Reddick to win it. It is a track that the championship race is at every year. I think 3 times the guy that won the spring race has been in contention for the championship, never wins it. So I'm kind of tired of that belief that this is such a big indicator because it's not always like Ryan Blaney ran second last year and won the championship. So it's just another race. It's the first race with this new short track package, which I think is going to be more interesting to see than who specifically runs well at Phoenix. And we got UFC tonight. Obviously, it will have already happened by the time that this goes out. But Tommy, what are your thoughts on it tonight?
Man, that main event, I went for Sugar Sean to get his lick back on Cheeto Vera for about, it's been 4 years. I remember watching that. Dude, I remember watching. It was like right after the pandemic when he fought Cheeto Vera the first time, and I had the perfect betting night leading up to that fight. I think that was like the last part of my parlay, and everyone's hyping up Sugar Sean to go in there and knock this kid out. And of course, the ankle injury happens, and he gets TKO'd. And it's been a long, long journey for him back to the top. But now that he's holding the belt, he's giving Cheeto Vera the rematch opportunity, and I think he goes in there and knocks him out. I think Sugar Sean proves to everyone that the first time was a fluke, and I think he retains the belt.
I agree with you, man. Sugar Sean, man, just something about that kid I love. Kevin Holland, Michael Page, that's going to be a barn burner tonight. Peter Yan already won by decision against Song. Poirier and BSD, though, that's going to be my fight of the night right there. That's going to be just cinema. That's going to be just 2 men wanting to take each other's heads off. God, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, man, you got to wonder when the end of the line for Dustin Poirier is. He's been good for so long, but man, that's a sport where one day you have it, one day you don't. You get your chin caught wrong one time, and then you rattle off a 4-fight loss streak. He's been good for over a decade now. You got to think he's getting up there in age. His time's coming. I see BSD getting the better of him.
Yeah, I had BSD. We talked about this a few months back. I think I had BSD winning, but that rattling 6 straight losses off, was that a dig at Tony Ferguson, or what was that?
Man, you just see it so often.
No,
Especially,
yeah, I mean,
especially Tony Ferguson. But man, like you got Volk taking a 3-fight loss streak. Peter Yan had a losing streak going into tonight. I think he just won the decision though.
yep, he did.
I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are. This sport catches up to you.
No, yeah, I mean, I just hope this podcast ends before the main event, because I don't want, like, I love this. Don't get me wrong, but if I go turn on my TV and I see Sugar Sean knocked out, knocking him out first round, 30 seconds in, I'm like, well, damn.
Well, we can speed up the process if you guys want. We can move on.
It's all good. It's all good. I'm just messing with you.
Gilbert Burns is lying on the mat right now. So I'm not sure what just happened, but
What?
that's an update. Yeah. So we're about 2 fights away, I believe.
I'm gonna make an executive decision. We're gonna move up right now to the draft, and we've got a good one today. We are going to create the perfect NBA player. What does that mean? Well, I'm glad you asked. I am gonna show you. So this is what we got. We got 5 categories right here. We got the player's build, his size. We got the handles. We got passing. We got scoring. We decided to put that one all in one. And we've got just sheer athleticism. So obviously, we're going to talk about 15 players. This can be former or current players. But once a player is taken, you can't use another attribute of his. So, for example, if Cardinal wanted to use Muggsy Bogues' build for some reason, but he wants to do it, he can have Muggsy Bogues' build, but that means then that none of us can take his athleticism, his scoring, his handles, anything like that. Once a player's taken, doesn't matter the attribute, they're off limits. So, we randomized the order. Yes, we did. Don't question it. I ended up first, Kanan second, Thomas is third, but it's a snake draft as always. So Thomas will pick first in the second round. I am up first, and I thought I had my my number 1 taken, but I'm going to save it. I am going to go to athleticism, and with the first pick, I feel like I have to take him. I will take LeBron James. One of the most freak athletes we've ever seen on an NBA court. Very few holes in what this guy can do. I think that's a pretty safe round 1, pick 1, personally.
Yeah.
No, that is a really safe pick. I'm surprised, honestly, though. I had 3 people before him coming off. But for my pick, I'm going to go scoring. And when I'm thinking scoring, I need somebody that can score from inside, outside, the mid-range, down low, 5 feet away, 30 feet away, 40 feet away. Give me Kevin Durant. That is the best scorer of all time. Silky smooth jump shot. Always just pure efficiency. Doesn't matter if he's 35 feet away from the bucket. Doesn't matter if it's 5. This guy will get you buckets. He's the best scorer of all time.
That's a really good pick. I thought about KD when I was going through my options for each category. Good pick. Tommy, you've got 2 to play with here.
All right. So when we pick these players, are we assuming it's like just the prime version of them?
Yeah, we'll just say best version of themselves.
All right. So here's the deal. I know I'm not winning this draft.
He admits
So
he comes clean.
I think I'm just going to have fun with it. I think I'm just going to have fun with it, and I'm going to throw some nice visuals out there. So we're going to start with the build so that we can kind of like piece the puzzle together.
I'm excited.
I'm gonna say Kenneth Lofton.
Oh my!
All right.
All right.
Just like everyone
So
expected, Kenneth Lofton is off third.
We're gonna have Kenneth Lofton with the handles of Kyrie Irving.
That's I think that was the pretty consensus pick for handles.
Honestly, yeah. I was expecting to take Kyrie second. I was like, okay, I don't think Thomas is going to take him. I think I was honestly thinking build and athleticism, a funky combination, but that's all right. For me, I am going to go passing, and I am going to go with the greatest passer all time, Magic Johnson, baby. KD scoring with his passing, just flip the ball 20 feet cross court, wide open person in the corner. Can't stop that. Got your big man rolling to the bucket, lob, easy dunk. So yeah, give me him. Give me Magic.
I like that. I'm gonna go with scoring, and I'm gonna pick someone that you didn't expect. But I just talked about him a little bit earlier, and maybe the most lockdown move in recent history is a Nikola Jokic down low hook shot.
The most efficient.
And he's got the outside shot as well to boot. That alone is all you need. And I have a lot of ways that I can go with this. But I think I'm going to take handles next. And I think we can agree that Kyrie's got the best handles we've ever seen. But in my opinion, the second greatest is a guy that played basketball like it was street ball. I'm going to take Allen Iverson.
That is a good pick. That is a really good pick.
I think that's the clear-cut second best. So that's the thing. I just really don't want to be screwed on a category like handles that's kind of niche. I think I like my options at build and passing maybe more, but I just want to make sure that I have a certified guy like that. So Kanan, you are up. You can take build, handles, or athleticism, but you cannot take Kenneth Lofton.
Well, that hurt. That really hurt. But if I'm going, I got to go handles, and I got to go for the third, in my opinion, the third best ball handler of all time. Give me the Detroit Pistons bad boy, Isaiah Thomas. That his footwork, his speed with the ball, the killer cross, the hezzy tween behind the back. He could get to the paint at any way. God, he was such a great. He stopped MJ. Not a lot of people can say that, but Isaiah Thomas. I'm really liking the player I'm picking up right now. I think I got the best one.
You're looking good so far. I like that pick a lot. I wasn't expecting IT. I don't think
third best.
That's a very good pick. He kind of slips through the cracks sometimes.
He does. Since we both everyone's got their handles, I think. Yep. Honestly, some people I had, as a backup, I had Jason Williams, Mr. White Chocolate. I had Pistol Pete. At the end of the day, I got to go Isaiah Thomas. I got to.
Good pick.
Because if I'm this is NBA vest, I got to go with IT.
Yeah, that's a good point. Tommy.
All right. Well, it might be recency bias, but athleticism, I'm going to go Anthony Edwards.
I like that.
That's not ridiculous.
And, can you imagine someone built like Kenneth Lofton jumping like Anthony Edwards?
It's a sight to see.
Scoring, you might hate on this one. Give me prime James Harden.
Okay.
I had James Harden as a backup for me as well. I'm not gonna lie to y'all.
Yeah, I didn't have Harden as backup or Durant. I think I just forgot to put Durant. I just put 3 for each option because that's all it was really going to come down to most likely. But
I put 8.
You put who?
I put 8 people for each category.
When it comes he put 3 hours into this, by the way.
I did. I sat down and I watched film. When it comes stuff like this, building the perfect NBA player, I could do this all day, every day.
No, it's fun. So you've got athleticism and build left. Tommy has just passing left. I have build and passing.
I'm gonna go for build this time. Thomas, you have Kenny Lofton, who is a freak. Who's gonna stop that athleticism, that ball handling. I'm going to tell you who. The Mr. 7'1" for the San Antonio Spurs, David Robinson. This guy was buff as hell. Nobody was pushing him around. The Admiral. He's stopping everything and anything that's getting in the paint, perimeter. Just one big body dude that you cannot get passed by. Honestly, I was thinking if Harry didn't take LeBron, I was going to take LeBron. But
Yeah.
David Robinson has the best build of any NBA player of all time.
Yeah, I kind of thought about LeBron for build too, but I feel like athleticism with LeBron, like a guy that big and that athletic, I felt like you couldn't go wrong with it. So I'm up next. My last two picks are going to be consecutive, so it doesn't matter what order I go in. But I'm looking at Nikola Jokic right now for my build, and obviously he can kind of do it from the inside and the outside, but obviously down low is kind of where he makes his money. So I need a big guy, and I think one of the most dominant big men of all time is another guy that was not going to get messed around. That is Shaquille O'Neal. I'm happy with that pick. I think Shaq, obviously a big dude. You give him Allen Iverson handles, LeBron's athleticism, Jokic is scoring. It's unfair, but he has to be able to pass. And I think one of the best passers I've ever seen. Had a couple of options here, but I'm going to go with the two-time MVP, Steve Nash.
Yep.
I mean,
So,
I'm surprised.
Really?
No. Like Steve Nash is a good pick, but honestly, I thought you would take somebody like Jason Kidd over him, to be honest.
No, I kind of like I think the flashiness of some of Nash's passes as well is kind of what does it for me. Kind of, he obviously wasn't like a Magic, but like you see some of his like diving into contact, like throwing it out, finding Grant Hill for a corner three. I mean, using his head in the dunk contest with Amari Stoudemire.
That's not bad.
I like Kidd. So you are up. We need your athleticism. Who is your player going to replicate?
So I know the Shaq pick was really good because Shaq and David Robinson, they always went back and forth at it. Shaq had a really good couple moves on David. And looking at his athleticism with LeBron, that's very scary. But this is prime. And if I'm needing somebody to stop Shaq that's like that, give me an arguably underrated athletic peak. Give me the Orlando Magic Dwight Howard. From 2006 to 2012, you could not get anything off in his paint. That man would jump 40 feet in the air, dunk it, and hell, Shaq, he hates him. I mean, me personally, I feel like that's going to be a little animosity right there, the Superman name. But Dwight Howard's athleticism is severely underrated. I was thinking Vince Carter, but I need the defense. And Dwight, his footwork before he joined the Rockets, he had that LA stint, but I'm not counting that. Dwight's athleticism was peak. I'm talking absolute peak. There was a reason why he was the best center in the NBA for that period of time, coming out of high school too.
We probably could have added defense as a step, but I felt like that draft would just take him forever. So I think.
I mean, we could.
We could. I think we'll have to save that for next time, though.
Next time, yeah.
Tommy, your last pick. Who does your guy with the body of Kenneth Lofton and the athleticism of Anthony Edwards? Who does he pass like?
Rajon Rondo.
Yep, that was one of my considerations.
Underrated.
Absolutely, good pick. Let's see who. I know for me, I thought about LeBron for build. I also thought about Zion for build and athleticism because a guy his size, some of the things he does is ridiculous. For handles, I thought about Steph Curry. He's obviously not on Kyrie's level, but he's had some really big highlight moments. Passing, some guys I thought about were John Stockton and Chris Paul. Yep. Chris Paul in the pick and roll, obviously very, very good. Scoring, first off, I can't believe nobody said Michael Jordan for anything.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
He doesn't have a left hand. We're done with the 90s.
Right hand bandit.
I thought about him for scoring a little bit too. I also wrote down Kareem and Luka Doncic. I think Luke is probably the weaker of the picks, but bless you, Kanan. Kareem,
Thank you.
obviously the second best, or the second highest scoring player in NBA history. Athleticism, I went with LeBron, obviously. Thought about Vince Carter, thought about Zion. I also thought about Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
That's a good
He's,
pick.
what, 6'3" or something like that, and just the way he gets up, he's kind of like in a way, he's almost like the 2010s Anthony Edwards. Like they play kind of similarly. Like they can get up in a similar way.
For my athleticism, I had a whole bunch of people. I had Vince Carter, Dominique Wilkins, Wilt Chamberlain, Julius Erving, Russ. I even had Blake Griffin at a point because
Ooh.
Blake Griffin's athleticism was absolutely insane. For scoring, we mentioned KD, Curry, MJ, Harden, Kareem. I had Kobe and Melo as well. Just like Melo, that one-on-one isolation game in the mid-2010s, nobody did it better. Passing, CP3, Nash, Stockton, Kidd. I had Joker, but you obviously took him. And for build, no Giannis, no Wemby, no Sean Kemp. I had Orlando Magic Shaq. I was seriously debating between him and David Robinson, and even Wilt again. But I'm happy with the teams with the players I got.
Tommy, do you have any other honorable mentions?
I really was thinking about Russell Westbrook as well for athleticism. I kind of wanted to joke around and say like Muggsy Bogues,
Excuse me.
Hard Webb type. I think Dominique Wilkins is kind of slept on too for athleticism. He was insane.
Dr. J too, I think would have been a good one.
Or like Yao Ming for build.
Yeah, I thought about just like an absolute freak like that. That's why I thought about Wemby, but I figured, like you got David Robinson in there. Like I feel like Wemby's just a little bit too scrawny to go up with him. Maybe when he gets older, but I mean the kid's 19 years old. It's kind of hard to say right now.
John Stockton was going to be probably my backup passing.
Yeah, I think Rondo's a really good pick. So I think that wraps it up. I've got build of Shaq, handles of AI, the passing of Nash, the scoring of Jokic, the athleticism of one King James. Kanan has the build of the Admiral, David Robinson, the handles of the 80s Isaiah Thomas, not the 2010s Isaiah Thomas. The passing of Irvin Magic Johnson, the scoring of Kevin Durant, the athleticism of Dwight Howard. Tommy's got the build of Kenneth Lofton, not Kenny Lofton, the should-be MLB Hall of Famer. He's got the handles of Kyrie Irving, the passing of CP3, the scoring of James Harden, and the athleticism of Anthony Edwards. You guys will have to let us know who won this draft. I think it's a pretty even draft.
It is. Thomas's player would be the perfect like street ball-esque. Kind of reminds me of Escalade when he went with Kenny Lofton.
I think we have to say Kanan won just because he spent so much time on this.
No, don't do me like
he's a tryhard of the draft at the very least. All right, that's
Bro, I mean, I had notes. Notes
battle. Kanan takes notes. All right, boys. I think that wraps it up. Next Sunday is Selection Sunday. I can almost guarantee you we will have a show to discuss that. Maybe we'll just hop on line and maybe fill out a bracket together. Maybe we'll have to see what that looks like. But big things are happening it's got to be Thomas's favorite time of the year. March Madness is just around the corner, and we will be sure to get back talking about that. But boys, good stuff as always. Enjoy the meantime.
Absolutely.
I mean, we could even do it live, if everybody's schedules adds up, just live reaction as well. But
yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah. But this has been Unsportsmanlike Content. I think this is almost 2 hours. But it's been a good one. We had a lot to discuss, and I'll have a lot of editing to do tomorrow, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
But for all of us here, that is Thomas Fornes. That is Kanan Bielovats. That is Unsportsmanlike Content. My name is Harry Loomis. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Unsportsmanlike Content.